I mean, Zechariah is having dreams, right? And I don't know, for me, when I think about the God dreams that I've had, like the dreams that I'm like, wow, I think that was Jesus, speaking to me in a dream. It does not make any sense. I didn't have like a dream of me standing up preaching in front of everybody and going, oh man, wait, I am the lead pastor and everybody's listening to me. And then waking up the next morning and looking at Crystal and saying, Crystal, I had a dream. It's like these really weird, random images, that you have when you have a God dream. But it wasn't I felt like as close I could get to hearing the audible voice of God, that was a moment, right? And yet I could never say that that's literally what happened, that the voice of God spoke to me. I mean, I think so much of this, when we're talking about what happens when we read prophetic stuff in the Bible, even when we think about what prophetic stuff that's pointed at us, that's a word of knowledge when somebody prays over us or something, these are all just like symbolic nudges, senses that we get. There are things that I don't think we really understand because my Western, brain that's raised in a Greek Platonic form, right? Like I've been raised to treat everything in this very logical sense.
Right.
This 1 + 1 = 2, right? And so, but it for the Jews, especially if you're a prophet like Zechariah, it's like 1 × 84 = 2,
Right.
and it's the square root. Like it's none of it makes any sense, right? So
and yet in retrospect, you see stuff happening and well, that's clearly referring to this when it happened. And probably at the time, Zechariah couldn't say, well, I know this in 33 AD. They'll be mourning over the one who's pierced. He just is rattling off what he sees and kind of I don't ask me to explain this almost. Right. Because to him, probably rattling off about a king coming in on a little donkey is just as weird as some messianic figure standing on a mountain that's being ripped in half by an earthquake. And he's so big that he's like the Jolly Green Giant size for those of us who grew up watching those commercials and know he's just a giant. I mean, for him, it's probably all, I'm just a prophet. Here it is.
I'm just going to say what I need. Yeah, I'm just going to say what's there, right? Because you think about it, if a king would never ride a donkey, right? Like that just doesn't happen. So I imagine that
it would be like a president. It'd be like a president of a foreign dictatorship rolling in with his entourage of cars, and he's in a '68 Volkswagen Beetle with clouds of smoke coming out of the tailpipe.
Yeah, totally. It's him riding a big wheel.
He's a grown-up riding a big wheel, and his knees are 4 feet above the wheel.
It's just the most ridiculous picture. A king riding not just a donkey, right? It's the foal of a donkey. It's the child of a donkey. It's not even a full-grown donkey.
And what's the look on the face of the donkey? The donkey's like, why is this guy on my back? Does he not know that I'm not a full-grown donkey yet? He's just like, this is not comfortable kind of thing. And everyone's hooray, Zechariah's words are coming to pass,
Yeah, our Jesus's feet dragging on the ground as he's riding this donkey. Even they're looking at it as, wow, Zechariah had a weird dream last night.
Yeah.
And we know that he's a prophet. I wonder what that means. Mm-hmm. And of course, those things have been debated and discussed for, thousands of years now. what these kinds of visions and dreams are. That they're in some sense things that we can apply to our lives today in a almost in a parabolic sense. I think it's like a really beautiful, the coming of Zion's king. This passage in Zechariah 9, rejoice greatly, daughter Zion, shout, daughter Jerusalem, see your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. And this whole passage of scripture here, to me, like the great verse here is, return to your fortress, you prisoners of hope. Like, this is such a beautiful picture, and yet it is such a confusing picture, right? If you're Zechariah is writing to the exiles who are coming back from from Babylon to Jerusalem, and they have been waiting for 70 years, right? So they're now getting to go back to Jerusalem, and they're wanting to see, is this the time when Israel's going to come back, when the kingdom of Israel is going to be rebuilt? And Zechariah's response to that is, hey, I know you've been waiting for 70 years as prisoners of hope. You've been hoping for 70 years. Go ahead and return to your fortress. Like, go ahead and keep waiting, right? So I read that, and then I go, man, I can directly apply that to my life. This symbol of, I am going to continue to be, because I'm waiting for Jesus to come back. So I'm going to sit here. I'm going to wait. I'm going to continue to be a prisoner of hope. And we'd be better served by saying, I think we know something, that there's something future about this, right? Because obviously Jesus is referred to here. He is the Messiah is referred to multiple times at the end of Zechariah. But what I can do today is I know that the scripture, the whole body of scripture, is helpful to sharpen me, to make me more like Jesus. And so I can take Zechariah 9 through 14 and go, okay, these are some weird things. What would this mean for me in light of the rest of scripture? What would it mean for me today? Well, why is God judging? Why is God bringing judgment? It's because he's a God of justice. He's going to protect the poor and the needy, the outcast. That's who he's interested in. That's who the God of the Israelites is the God of. You know, who are the Israelites? Well, they're the poor, the needy, the outcast. They're slaves in Egypt.